We are back after a few days off here at Locked On Syracuse with a men's basketball recruiting and transfer portal roundup, taking a look at some possible names that could join the Orange as soon as next season. We'll break it all down. We'll take a look at the portal, take a look at the recruiting trails, and see where things go from there. It's your Locked On Syracuse Wednesday, and it starts right now.
Are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Good morning and welcome into Locked On Syracuse. And thank you so much for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen today and every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. I'm Owen Valentine, breaking it all down. We're talking Syracuse basketball recruiting and transfer portal. It's sort of just the mismatch or the mosh, whatever that is, the offseason at this point in time. It's a lot of hypotheticals. It's a lot of deep diving into players that you may or may not see come to fruition in terms of Central New York. And it's sort of figuring out that landscape. And there's a few names that at this point in time are jumping off the page. And that's sort of where we will look on today's episode. So we'll talk the portal. We'll talk 2024 possibility. We'll talk a little bit about Joe Girard and his departure and some of the looks that he's been getting early on. Just sort of the roster as a whole at this point in time. I was trying to break it down before I hit record today and go by position, I guess. And when you look at the guards, your guarantees right now are J.J. Starling and Quadir Copeland. And you look at a guy maybe like Justin Taylor that could join that conversation. I think you're going to see him make that jump from more of a 3 to a 2 this season, depending on what happens with Judah, what happens in the portal, and things of that nature. But your guard situation, you've got a guy in J.J. Starling that you pretty much know what you're going to get, a formidable guy in terms of having to replace Judah if that is the case. But if Judah departs and J.J. takes over the one, how confident are you in Quadir Copeland? And I know we discussed this through and through, the ceiling that he has and the very much high potential that exists for this guy. And we've seen it at times. And he's got that ability to come in and be a spark and bring that energy. And I love the way he played this season. But I don't know at this point in time. And I hope that's, I don't want that to sound too negative, but we don't know what that looks like when you see or need him for 30 minutes a game, night after night after night after night. So that's sort of up in the air. I think JT makes that transition, starts to contribute in that factor, also gets you a little bit better of a shooting option in terms of your guard duo. Because JJ Starling, not the greatest three-point shooter, can shoot the ball if needed. Did not have an incredible year shooting from three. I think he was just about 30% this year. You'd like to see him make a jump. I think he can. But Justin Taylor, in theory, provides a better look from range. And then obviously this is still, as we'll discuss time and time again, relying on Judah. As you look to the forward spot, you've got Chris Bell, Malik Brown, and Benny Williams. Now, at any point, this could change, and one of those could enter the transfer portal. But at this point in time, I think that trio works all right in terms of taking up the minutes at the 3 and the 4. To have those two guys plus, whoever the third one is, whoever starts, who comes off the bench, I think that's a good trio to be able to distribute those minutes there. Next, you look at the center room, which is almost a little bit crowded at this point in time. Obviously, we don't know what's happening with Jesse Edwards. That is still up in the air. But Peter Carey, Monir Hema, and the lone recruit at this point in the 2023 class, William Patterson, take up a pretty crowded center spot. Now, I think a lot of people would make the assumption, myself included, and this is a very early prediction, that Patterson is going to be a bit of a raw player, probably will need some time to develop before you see him make that jump. So at this point in time, you've got a question mark in Peter Carey and a guy in Monir Hema that is okay. He's not a replacement for Jesse Edwards. And Jesse remains up in the air. So at this point, you got three guys that have transferred out: Joe Girard, John Bolajak, Symir Torrance. You've got one guy that is transferred in JJ Starling. You've got one guy coming in as a true freshman in William Patterson. At this point in time, you're down one in terms of lost players to gained players, and you could be down as many as three with Judah if he departs, and with Jesse if he departs. And that is the sort of state of this roster right now, and the battle and the sort of tightrope that Adrian Autry and company have to walk in terms of recruiting in the portal, in maybe a late 2023 signee. In whatever that might be, you have one spot right now and the possibility of it being three. And your answer to when that comes is when. Judah has until June 12th to determine if he's coming back or not. Jesse has, I don't know, until next season to make that decision. A decent amount of time. Obviously not actually until next season, but there's not really a timetable on that, as much as the coaching staff and the fan base, and I think many others, would want to know that answer sooner rather than later. So you got one spot to fill right now, but you also can test the waters with two other guys that could also come in and make a replacement. I will talk about this because this news came out a little bit before I jumped on today, this afternoon. Drew Fielder was in that conversation as someone that could come in and replace. He was a four-star guy, 6'9", 215, just outside the top 100 in terms of 24/7's rankings. Committed to Providence, decided to reopen his commitment after Ed Cooley went over to Georgetown. Some people thought that maybe that could be a Syracuse connection, or Syracuse had been in conversations with him early on. Didn't actually make it anywhere. He's following his coach, tailing Ed Cooley over to Georgetown on this one. So that is not the answer. But your answer could come in another situation where you do have quite a connection, and a solid connection, especially if, and there's a big if here, the Brendan Strawn assistant coaching position comes to fruition. And we get that officially. And it happens because there is a massive connection between Josh Oduro, a George Mason grad transfer who entered the portal, and Brendan Strawn. We'll take a break quickly. We'll break that down after that. But before we do, let's chat a little bit about FanDuel Sportsbook. The tournament is heating up, and there's no better place to get in on that action than FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Yes, that's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the net. I told you before the Sweet 16, UConn, as much as it pained me, I think they were plus 900 still to win it all. Now they're minus 125. If I were to bet at this point in time, maybe you take the exacta of UConn over San Diego State. I hate to put a Cinderella to bed at this, but I think I lean towards San Diego State. That exact is plus 230 if you were interested. It's all on an app that's safe, secure, super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. All right, we talked a little bit before the break. Josh Oduro, a George Mason transfer, Virginia native, 6'9", 230-pound forward. I think he could probably play the center, especially in this theoretical, and we keep getting little tidbits, getting closer and closer to confirming the shift from zone to man in terms of primary defense. You can get away with a guy that is not as tall in the middle of the zone. So 6'9", 230. This guy is a really solid player, and he's getting looks from all over the country: Florida, Miami, Virginia, Providence, Syracuse, Notre Dame, Cincinnati, to name a few. Especially, and I think you look at the connections, and you see Kim English, who, as we sort of talk about the coaching, I guess, carousel that happens, Providence gets Kim English as the new head coach, with Ed Cooley going to Georgetown. So right now, you've got that connection, right? Does Oduro want to play his final season of eligibility with his old coach at a new school? That's a possibility. Would make sense. I don't think anyone would be surprised if that came. But Brendan Strawn, you might look, if you ever took a peek at his coaching history, was a coach for 5 seasons of Team Takeover. Now, where did Josh Oduro play his AAU ball? Oh, yeah, it's for Team Takeover. How about that? You've got that connection. And it makes a lot of sense, because you could come into, as we discussed to start the episode, a center room that has some question marks and might still need some maturing and some figuring out. And to bring a grad transfer in for 1 year could answer the Jesse Edwards situation if he departs, and also put you in a situation where Peter Carey, Monir Hema, can develop a little bit further, not as a guy that you need out there for 25, 30 minutes a day. That would be absolutely massive. And not just because, I'm trying to fill this in. This guy could play. He's got post moves, like actual post moves that are really, really solid. Average 15.6 points per game, almost 8 rebounds a game, almost 2 assists a game, almost 2 blocks per game. This guy does what you want him to do. He's a hell of a player. Watch some film on him, because he can do what you want. And he started to elevate a little bit in terms of his ability to stretch even beyond the arc, and took a little bit more of a role in terms of shooting. He's not a great shooter by any means. He shot 20 and change % from 3. But he started to show and is a bit of a threat, because he will pull from deep, which I think can help in a situation when you've got guys with speed that can finish at the rim and slash really, really effectively in Judah Mintz, JJ Starling, wherever they are, if they're playing together. To be able to bring that combo with an exterior presence like that to open up the middle would be really interesting. He's a 2-time All A-10 selection. I was looking a little bit at sort of what describes him. There are some draft articles even about him from last season heading into his senior year. SI Draft Digest with a quote here. Whether it's quick spins, drop steps, pivot finishes, jump hooks, running hooks, or a budding face-up jumper, his post scoring is a true weapon. He's a below-the-rim finisher who can pass and distribute. If that doesn't fit what you want in today's game, and I know I'm going to say today's game and also talk about a guy with post moves that is a big man and a true big man for the most part. It sort of sounds, like I'm counteracting myself in my own answer, but it works. And it is exactly what Syracuse would need in looking to replace a guy like Jesse Edwards if he so chooses to depart. It would be a massive, massive addition with the size, the ability to finish. When is the last time Syracuse has had a guy in the post with post moves? Rakeem Christmas? It's been a while. It would be an absolute treat to see a guy post up in orange and hit a drop step and then maybe a little hook or some sort of post move. I don't even care what it is. Give me something down low. Jesse Edwards flashes it occasionally. Every so often you see a game where he can, show a few post moves. And all too often, though, it's against undersized players. It's not against your physical guys. Josh Oduro can play against a physical player. And you're going to say, he played for George Mason. He played in the A-10. He's got size. He can do it, and he's done it for an extended period of time. 2-time A-10 selection, I said, and is doing it very frequently. He's an outstanding player. and he dominates in conference play and out of conference play. It is exactly what Syracuse would need in this offseason to fill in at some of your bigger spots. And it's a guy, there's experience there. They played decent teams. I mean, they played Auburn, who's a decent squad this season. They played VCU, who wasn't terrible. They're playing an ACC team every once in a while. They played BC. It's not really a good selling point out of me, unfortunately. But a top 100 team in Hofstra, Toledo, Dayton. They're playing teams that aren't bad by any means. Let's go back to 2022, see if there's anything else in there in terms of who we would have played against. Played against Kansas, a national champion that year, a Dayton team that was solid, a Davidson team that was decent. VCU can do some stuff. The competition is not that bad when we talk A10. And in all honesty, he steps up to the plate, and he does it, and would be a massive addition for Syracuse in this. The next one I want to hit on briefly, then we'll talk a little Joe Girard, is Donnie Freeman. This is not as immediate. 2024 four-star power forward. He's from St. John's College in Washington, D.C., or St. John's College High. And Adrian Autry has been out and about. A lot of conversation, good little push out of him. Visited on Friday of last week. The best offers right now in terms of what Freeman had mentioned are Alabama and Texas. And they've got him on an official visit coming next month. So we don't really know when the official commitment is. And Mike McAllister with SI.com wrote a good article about Freeman and that whole exchange with some quotes and a good conversation with him, if you want to check that out. But a really good possibility to join a guy in Elijah Moore in that 24 class and bring a forward into that class to complement what is already a solid-looking class with a good-looking guard, to bring in a four-star forward who is a 33 in 24/7's ratings and 28 in their composites. This is a big-name player that could possibly join the Orange, and I like to see that push. I like to see those efforts there. It will be interesting to see what happens. All right, conversation today is one that John Rothstein tweeted about. Some other people have tweeted about. It's a conversation happening, and it's about Joe Girard and the offers that he is getting and the teams that have reached out already for a guy that so many fans, the second he hit the portal, were excited to voice their opinions that Joe Girard does not deserve to play in the ACC, or does not deserve to play Power 5 basketball, or does not deserve to play Division I basketball, and he should go play at Division II Lemoyne, or he should go and play at Siena. Did you see the list of teams that have reached out to him? Because, oh yeah, he finished top 5 in the ACC in scoring. Find me another player who shouldn't play in the ACC and isn't a good enough player to play in the ACC that finishes top 5 in the conference in scoring. I'll wait. Ready for the offers list. Indiana, Tennessee, Auburn, Butler, LSU, Florida, Ohio State, Loyola Chicago, Stanford, Nebraska, BYU, Arkansas, Washington, Maryland, Oklahoma. You got 3 ACC teams in the mix: Pitt, Clemson, Notre Dame. Teams want him because he is a player that will elevate a team and provide scoring and a three-point threat. And it's crazy to think how excited the world was to see saying that I needed him to stay. But the thank God, the ding dong, the witch is dead sort of celebration to see that happening, I just don't think is necessarily warranted for a guy that's top 20 in scoring all time at Syracuse. And the negative rap comes to light one more time surrounding Joe Girard. Did he make some bad decisions? Yeah. Did he turn the ball over sometimes? Yeah. Did he throw up a goose egg sometimes? Yeah. Would Syracuse have lost significantly more games this season without him? Yeah. And that is the reality, the double-edged sword that is Joe Girard. and people and a very, very outspoken group of people made this kid's life miserable in terms of conversation and all that. And he's going to go somewhere next year. And we're going to watch from afar as Joe Girard does what we know he can do, or some of us accept what he can do. And he's going to do that somewhere else. And we're going to watch from Central New York and see what happens in that regard. Joe Girard, impressive offer sheet right now. Good for him. Wish him the best as he moves forward. There's a balance, I guess I'll say, and I'll move on from this. There's a balance between being critical of a player on your team and just being downright nasty and too much and overreacting and dragging somebody down. Caleb Joseph talked about it in an interview. I think it might have been on Eric Diefendorf's podcast a couple months ago about the true mental impact that those conversations, those words, those loud spoken, outspoken groups of people can have on players who are struggling. So just be aware of that. And in some other regards, I saw some conversations about it. If a recruit says the University of Syracuse, oh well. Don't be a nasty person in the comments to the point where they're going to react and say, this is terrible. Why would I want to play for a fan base that reacts like that? Encourage people. Be nice. What it comes down to. All right, a couple of shout outs before we wrap up our episode today. We are witnessing some truly, truly tremendous lacrosse in the women's lacrosse side for Syracuse. 12-0. The Orange just beat Cornell as we are talking live on this episode right now. They're 12-0 on the season. They've got, I believe, 3 top 10 victories. They're dominant. They're outstanding. They're electric. They score. They distribute. They move. It is incredible. They're doing truly, truly miraculous things. And a lot of people jumped on the Cuse men's soccer train as it started to heat up. And right now, the Cuse women's lax train is about as hot as it can get. Number 1 in the country. 12-0, dominating game after game. Truly, truly fun stuff. Fun to watch. And I was not a huge lacrosse fan. Hand up, I'm not the biggest lacrosse guy. This team is fun, energetic, exciting. Look at the stats for tonight. Let's see what we do. I know there are a few names that I expect to be at the top when I click and organize by points. And yes, there it is. Megan Tyrell, 5 goals, 3 assists tonight. Emma Ward, 4 goals on the day. Emma Tyrell, 4 goals on the day. Emma Ward, 4 assists and a goal on the day. That's sort of the trio that you are so used to seeing dominate for Syracuse. They have been phenomenal. Emma Ward, Emma Tyrell, Megan Tyrell. There are a few other names in there as well that definitely deserve their recognition. And I am working on, we'll see what happens, trying to get somebody from Cuse Women's Lax on here to help tell their story, give a little insight onto the squad a little bit more. But I'd start watching. It's really cool to see, sports that we don't always give the most attention. And I know Syracuse is a lacrosse school, so that might sound weird. But right there's a huge drop-off after basketball season comes to a close. You don't really get all too much in terms of Syracuse outside of recruiting in this time frame. Women's lacrosse is 1,000% deserving of your time because something special is happening on that field every time the Cuse women hit the pitch. And it's fun. Strap in, get on the train because it is heating up and it is hot and it is ready to go because this team is absolutely legit. Their next time out is when? I believe Saturday. Correct? Yes, Saturday. They play 6 p.m. at home against Virginia. Should be a good one. Should be exciting. If you're doing nothing April Fool's Day, first day of spring break for me. Woo. Go check out a game. I might head up there Saturday evening, see what's going on in terms of the Dome, get a good game, and go from there. Last shout out has to do with Syracuse.com and the Will to Win Syracuse Basketball documentary is airing, I believe, tonight when this comes out at the Landmark. Sort of stories GMAC, Carmelo, the 2003 team celebrating the 20th anniversary. Mike Waters, I believe, is heading it. And then there's going to be a little discussion afterwards. Mike Waters is absolutely phenomenal. And I expect this to be nothing short of that. I might have to work tomorrow or tonight when this comes out, so I'm up in the air on whether or not I'll be able to get there. But if I am not working, I'm gonna try my. I will be there if I am not working, is what it comes down to. So really cool thing. I saw, I believe, Queth Duaney is in town per Mike Waters for the event. I'm sure some other names will be there. I think tickets are like 30 or 40 bucks. Really not too bad for what should be a very memorable night. Really cool way to commemorate the 20-year anniversary of the national championship. So come out, support. Very much worthy of it. Support your local newspaper. Really, support local journalism. Do your thing. They do a great job, and I expect this to be absolutely tremendous because that is the expectation that Mike Waters, Donna DeTota, and the whole Syracuse.com crew set in terms of their work, and this should do absolutely that. All right, that's where we will wrap things up today. If you've got any questions, topics, things you want to hit on, feel free to tweet at me at LO_Syracuse over on Twitter. Feel free to comment on YouTube if you are watching there. Just hit in the reply. Go for it. Let me know what you want to talk about, what you want to see covered. Maybe I missed somebody. We could have talked a little bit about Elijah Fisher, Charles Pride, both guys with Syracuse ties in the portal. I don't see all too much in terms of the waters heating up there, so I didn't hit on it too much. But we can look a little bit deeper into that if there's interest. Yeah, just send out topics, conversations. If you got a random topic, Syracuse related, throw it out there, right? We're in the off season in terms of basketball and football, and lacrosse doesn't play every day. So throw some fun ones in there. We'll have some debates, some discussions, and go from there. If you are looking for more in terms of coverage, thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen today. For your second listen, Locked On College Basketball, Isaac and Andy talking the tournament, experts, coaches, players throughout the basketball landscape. It's Locked On College Basketball. It's available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much for checking in today. I'm Owen Valentine. If you'd like, I would greatly appreciate it. Please subscribe there. Watch another video there. Goes a long way. Helps me out a ton. Put that notification bell on. That way you know instantly when those videos go live. I will catch you tomorrow with another episode. I don't even know what we're talking yet. So that's the kind of day we're about to have. Strap in. We'll see what happens. Be kind. Have a good day, everybody.